Football, by the hell.
Old Trafford, this is the future of dreams. Will you please welcome...
Hello and welcome to the Busby Way Podcast, a special podcast today to discuss the news that came out this afternoon or this morning that Ruben Amorim has left the club, left Man United. I'm joined as always with the Oracle of Old Trafford, Bradley Tooth. Brad, initial reaction to that statement today?
Well, I'll be the ogre of Old Trafford. You know, I think, as I said on Sky Sports earlier, I am incredibly disappointed clowns are running the football club.
Really? Is it that strong on it, yeah?
Yeah, because, you know, only 2 months ago, Ratcliffe is saying, yeah, we've got this man for 3 years. Now, anything in the statements or the leaked stuff that's come out, nothing has changed from Amorim's perspective. He isn't magically turned into this guy overnight who's, like, emotional. He's always been like this. It was like this last season. The only difference this season is we're sitting joint fifth. And, you know, he's made comments out against the club. Radcliffe doesn't like it, so he's gone tatty bye-byes.
Yeah, it's got to be down purely to the comments, obviously, because I think the objective at the start of the season was get back into the top six, get into Europe, and as it stands, we're achieving that goal.
Yeah.
So is it just a case of don't bite the hand that feeds you?
I think there's two things, really. I think it's don't bite the hand that feeds you, but what is cheaper? Buying players or sacking a manager? That he was pushing adamantly for players, and it's cheaper to sack him.
Yeah, but do you think, obviously, Gary Neville alluded to yesterday, there's no money at Old Trafford. Like, do you think they could have found some money for him to buy these players, or was it a case of, we've already given you some money, we're not quite trusting you with any further budgets and make this work, and he's kind of gone, no.
There's no money at Old Trafford, but we're building a new stadium.
That's what Gary Neville said.
There's no money at Old Trafford, but there's plenty of money for his involvement in the new stadium. I'm not having it. You know, I'm not having it at all. Champions League football is around the corner, which is 100 million quid. It's a gamble to go into the Champions League. They've made measures to do what they've done. You know, Amorim has basically got rid of the expensive part of the squad. So he had Rashford at his disposal. He had Anthony. He had Sancho. He had Højlund. Those have all been chopped away. The bomb squad, as they were labelled, you know, yes, Amorim probably thought he wanted away with whatever, but how much of the club wanted those wages off the books? You know, we've done that. The finances don't look as bad as they did. You know, we've just had the financial results. They said they're going to continue to invest in the squad. Had Semenyo chose Man United, he might have got his man, but I think now Semenyo has not chose Man United, he's probably saying, well, I want you to go for X target. And I don't think this management structure... So I think there's two things with it, really. I think this management structure doesn't want plan Bs or perceived plan Bs, but Amorim is trying to be pragmatic and trying to get the club over the line, and you've already put up with 14, 15 months of, let's face it, it's not been the best, but it's been what we've led to believe, design. What have we been put through for? What was it for?
Yeah, it seems like we've kind of gone, here's your plan, we'll let you implement it. Halfway through, go, now we're going to change the plan, and it's kind of what we've done with every single manager. Yeah. It's like, not let them see out the kind of the 10-year, not let them kind of develop as they want to, but like, where's that going to get the club? Because I keep banging on that if you just keep regurgitating managers and chewing them up and spitting them out, we're not going to get any further. We're not going to make up the ground. I think you look at your Arsenals, you look at City, you look at Newcastle stuff. The clubs that are like the more sustainable, like have basically consistency over the years. The clubs that chop and change managers, apart from Chelsea, probably the only people, like, they kind of drift in and out at the top of the league. So look at Villa, they kept Unai Emery, and like, he's probably one of the longest serving managers.
And he's a manager, right? Yeah, so he's a manager. He's not somebody who, you know, broke clocks are right twice a day. Jamie O'Hara said today, look at the managers who, like Jurgen Klopp, manager, not coach. Pep Guardiola, manager, not coach. Arteta, manager, not coach. Slot, manager, not coach. These people, Emery, manager, not coach. These people who are being brought in and paid, 15, 16 million quid a season, whatever they're paid, they are they're being brought in to lead the football clubs. Whereas like the model Manchester United have gone after, can you see any examples of successful ways where there's been these structures, this almost this head coach thing? Do we want to be a Chelsea? Did the Ratcliffe and co look at Chelsea when they brought Manchester United and thought, with Clear Lake Capital's investment of however many players they bought in that transfer window, and thought, oh, that's a really clever way to do it, and all we'll do is we won't appoint a marquee manager, we'll just keep bringing in a head coach. Like, yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, it seems like basically something was said after the game yesterday, and he probably went along the lines of, I need more players, and he's like, you've got players, coach them into how we want you to play. And he said, that's not how it works. I want to manage players who've got the ability that I want already.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened. Do you think, obviously, the statement yesterday, obviously, it blew up. So do you think it showed a little bit of naivety from Amorim to kind of not like just let it chill for a little bit and kind of, or just react straight away? Do you think he'll probably look back at this and go, maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut a little bit, dealt with it in-house the next day?
I think so what did Man United have in the last 15 minutes in that game? That last 10 minutes in that game? Did they have anyone to throw on? No. Did they have anyone to go and try? Right, so we've got to 1-1. Right, okay. We've brought Xerxes on, and where's the next one to throw on? Well, and Mbuemo's at the African Nations, Ahmad, but everyone has a couple of injuries. But there should be somebody else to bring on. We had Goodwill Conconi, we had Shea Lacey, we had the Fletcher brothers, or the manager's sons now. Yeah. And that Fredrickson, these aren't bad players, right? But there was nothing there that could go and win a game of Premier League football that you'd have confidence in.
Well, we said this yesterday. The only kind of game changer on the bench was Xerxes, and it's flip a coin whether he's going to be good or
quote
not.
Unquote game changer.
Yeah. But he did change the game a little bit. But
he was good yesterday, as we alluded to in yesterday's pod.
Yeah. Which is now very irrelevant.
Very irrelevant pod. Yeah. Well, no, we made some good. Look, it was a fan reaction, right? And we're here today because we want to capture the reaction of a real fan. And we both backed Amorim, right? We both thought that it was, as did, the United fans were singing his song yesterday, Sunday. And we are not in a position of, we'd not left him. Do you know what I mean? And that's why what you'll hear from now is a lot of the loud fans who are maybe the silent, the not so silent, minority.
Do you think, obviously, and it's funny with them kind of fans, because it's not, I don't think it's an element of one fan's right, one fan's wrong. You're allowed to have your opinion. That's why we have football. That's why it's so universally loved. But I feel like a lot of people who are very much Amorim out, I think even at the start of the season, you say, probably going to be pushing for 5th, maybe top 4 by Christmas time. I think we would have bit your hands off considering how bad last season went. So do you think he's not had enough credit that he probably should have got? Maybe because stats kind of blur that?
Well, 2 starting 11 Fanalysts said Amorim out on Sunday. 2 out of 11. So that tells you, and, they're entitled to their opinion, and I won't... name names or shame or any of that, because they see it a different way, right? But I looked at it and I saw us 5th in the league after the game, and he had no tools to do his job. Is he entitled to ask for tools? Yes, he is. Do I want a manager who's got a backbone? Yes, I do. Am I worried going forward that we won't have a manager that has a backbone? If you're Thomas Tuchel, or insert, elite manager here, and looking at that, you're going, right, he's been a bit of a dick. He's cried about it. Maybe he should have been a bit coy and had the conversation in the morning. Or maybe he's been crying to Wilcox for a few weeks. And, Wilcox is doing what Mike Bassett, England manager, you remember, just not let all the stuff under the desk.
Yeah.
Just pop it under the desk. Maybe Wilcox has adapted.
I'm waiting for the next press conference where he's got, we will be playing
4-4-2. Yeah.
Right. Well, before I do that, let's have a little read through the club statement. So the club statement is, Ruben Amorim has departed his role as head coach of Manchester United. Ruben was appointed in November 2024 and has led them to UEFA Europa League final in Bilbao in May. With Man United sitting 6th in the Premier League, the club leadership has reluctantly made the decision that it is the right time to make the change. This will give the team the best opportunity of the highest possible Premier League finish. The club would like to thank Ruben for his contribution to the club and wish him well for the future. What do you make of that?
Well, the bitch in me thinks, right, Ratcliffe has gone, you are a head coach. That's what your contract says. But I am not massively impressed by that statement. It tells me that it's making it out like we're going to go and get him. We're going to go and get somebody that is going to push us on now. We're going to have the best possible finish. Well, there's been lots of false dawns in the last few appointments. Ragnick, Ten Hag, Mourinho, Ollie, Van Gaal, everybody has failed at the club overall. As much as I loved Ollie and I loved Mourinho, bored to tears with Van Gaal, everyone's failed, and there hasn't been a significant enough change to make in the ownership direction from the Glazers or Glazers 2.0 that I've seen to think that they're going to turn it around.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons I was backing Amorim quite a bit was there was so much to do behind the scenes with the squad. We're changing an ethos. We're turning around an oil tanker here at Man United. It's not a quick fix. It's not a case of get Ancelotti in or we'll win the league. We've got to ship players out. We've got to recheat. We've got to get people in. It's a whole different ethos. We've got to change the whole culture of the club. Ragnick famously said it needed open heart surgery, and I felt Amorim was doing the right things behind the scenes. I think it was disappointing that he didn't get the wins that he needed, because at the end of the day, it is a results business. You do need to be picking up the wins while you're doing this. But it feels disappointed on him for that, because because I think the work he was doing behind the scenes is not being appreciated as much because the work on the pitch isn't.
Well, he won't get time to. He won't get the end result, will he? He had an opportunity to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat last in Bilbao. That didn't happen. The most boring game I've ever watched in my life. But we're in this situation now. I've said my negative things about the club. I hate being negative about my club. I am genuinely angry and genuinely sad. But now's the time to back the boys till the end. Back the boys. I don't want to hear any nepotism claims about the Fletchers. They are in the right. They are in the squad because they deserve to be in the squad. I've watched them at youth team level, and they're ready to progress. They're bossing it at under 18s, under 21s, whatever. Don't want to hear any of that crap from quote unquote fans. The squad's thin. Let's see if Wilcox brings in a player or two for him or a manager. Hopefully Kobbie Mainoo comes back.
He might get a start.
He might get a start. But, it's timing, isn't it? Had Kobbie not been injured, he would have been starting these games. Yeah. But, hindsight, he might be the best player that didn't play over Christmas,
Exactly.
But I back Kobbie Mainoo to have a good second half of the season.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he came out the gates.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. But I think as well, whether you're Amorim in or Amorim out, it's not something you should be celebrating your manager getting sacked.
No,
it shows
not
the
at all.
Club has failed.
Yeah.
Whatever the objective was, it's failed. And when you go, I didn't like him anyway, it's irrelevant. You're celebrating a step back.
You're celebrating a step back. You're celebrating us being the laughing stock again. Because our phone's blowing up, right? It was requests for this, requests for that, and it's ultimately there's only one reason: they want to see the misery, right? They want to. After Liverpool conceded a last minute and we'll clip that reaction to my on yesterday's podcast that will be lost in the ether. But ultimately we should be in a better position in the league. We're not. Who's he going to get in? We don't know. I guess we're going to talk about who we want as Amorim's successor at some point in this pod today.
But I feel like we say we should be in a better position. We should have picked up more points. We should have done that. When you look at the league, you're looking at teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle. People are dropping points against every other club in the league. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we were just, even though we were feeling it more dropping points, it's kind of the standard.
Everyone's
par for the course.
Points.
Unless you're Man City, Arsenal, or technically Villa, but they were dropping at the start.
Dropped points yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. It's par for the course. And I think we're moving away in the Premier League at the moment to one team just getting 105 points or 100 points. I think we're getting a little bit back, regressing a touch, which makes the league more interesting, where you can lose 4 or 5 games just to win the league. I think that's where we're heading towards again. But whether you wear Amorim in or out, let's just kind of review his career at United, obviously in stat form. So obviously he had 63 matches in all competitions, won 24, drawn 18 and 21 losses. So it's kind of like an equal split, but it's a 38% win ratio.
Okay, is that in all competitions?
All comps, yeah.
All comps, right. Take out the Europa League.
Yeah.
What's his in the Premier League?
I don't know, mate. I'm not a mathematician, am I?
The 27.25.
Yeah, cheers for that, mate. I'm not Rain Man. But no, but I'd imagine it's a little bit better when you take out the Europa there. But his win rate at the end of the day, whether you're hammering in or hammering out, it needed to be better. I think if his win rate was better, he would have been more bulletproof for what he said yesterday. Yeah. If he said that, I'd go, do you know what? He's won 60% of the games. Like, let him have his little paddy and we'll talk about it in house. But I feel like with what he came out with, he didn't have enough backup behind him to
he didn't have enough backup, and he'd lost the class of '92, hadn't he? Yeah. Ultimately, Gary Neville had started speaking out, and the powers that be do listen to Gary, don't they? Clearly, I wish Gary would start speaking out about other clubs sooner. Arne Slot is on the worst record this season of any title-winning manager. However, nobody's talking out about Liverpool. It's gone quiet, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I think ex-pundits have a lot of sway in the media.
They do.
And I think if you say night's day, then the night is day if you're a pundit. Yeah. And I feel like people just get up and go, I used to support him and watch him every week when he used to win, so he knows best. Yeah. And I feel like, I don't think it's just Gary Neville. I think it's ex-players in general. They have a lot of sway. And it's very similar, reminiscent of the Harry Maguire situation. When everyone was getting on his back, if the pundits were doing it, it kind of piled on a little bit, and you had some pundits even come out and apologise about how raw they were about him. So there is that element of stuff, but I just feel like his record doesn't reflect how good a job he was doing. I think at United,
it doesn't. But it's people say, well, James, the stats don't lie. Well, I think. They don't tell the story of the players out. They do. I remember I asked you yesterday, would you take Rashford back? I think that's probably what's going to happen. What's going to happen there with the players who are out on loan? Yeah. What's going to be, what's going to come of all of that? Are there going to be players who we had options on that are going to be triggered that Amorim didn't want back in? What's going on with that? Dipping back onto Gary, I love Gary to bits, but I feel like he should be a more positive presence for Manchester United rather than a negative force.
Yeah, and I suppose
tell his mate to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but I think from his point of view, he call it how he sees it, and but I feel like it doesn't help anything.
He who should not be named.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think with Amorim going out now, it's not a good day for Man United fans. I don't think
it's a terrible day.
I think long term we'll probably look back at how we did with Ollie when he left, and a few years down the line we're like, oh, we should have kept him in. I've had 2 people say to me in passing today, yeah, he should have stuck with Ollie. And if you remember all the hate Ollie was getting at the time,
I hated when Ollie left. I did. I was desperate for it to work out for him, and he was undone by Ronaldo, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was it.
As much as Ronaldo, like, if like anybody would take Ronaldo in that situation in a heartbeat. It was the right decision, but hindsight's a bitch, and it sort of like there's no escaping that Ronaldo was a negative sort of spin on that, and the ending of Pogba and the ending of all these stuff, and should we have the Bruno Pogba debate? No, I'm joking.
So obviously then he's gone. That's it there. What did Amorim do right? What will his legacy at United be? What do you reckon it would be?
His legacy is losing a Europa League final, having the worst record of any Manchester United manager. That's how history will remember him. However, what he did right was he tried to implement a style of football that, let's face it, there's been some games this season where we've looked really good to watch. We've had some good players in, but we are the richest in history, one of the richest in history in the world. We're one of the most successful teams in the world. We're not going to be looking back and going, do you know what? Get me the 24-25 season DVD of Ruben Amorim, are we? Let me see what's occurring. Nobody's going to care. In 2 weeks' time, this will all be chip paper, and we'll be looking at Darren Fletcher with grey hair.
Yeah. I think with that Darren Fletcher coming in, it's quite a short-term appointment. Hopefully,
we wish him all the best, right?
Absolutely,
we wish him all the best.
I mean, whoever's sat in that dugout for United, you always wish them the best. You want to see the club do the best as they can. I think with the Amorim thing, I think one of my takes is, I feel like he kind of twisted too soon, and it's because of like the players available to him. He tweaked his formation a little bit, and I feel like potentially gone, well, you've twisted and it kind of works, so why don't you just make these players work? And I feel like potentially if we hadn't had all the AFCON, and we hadn't had all the injuries, and we hadn't reverted to a four at the back, potentially they'd give him a bit more sway. And so,
you mean he's opted out of signing the players for the formation because he can be
because he did it once and they were like, it's worked.
I've said negative things, right? And this could turn out to be a great move. It could turn out to be that Darren Fletcher, who knows the club better than Ruben Amorim, who's worked with the younger players for a longer period of time, who has been at Manchester United the majority of his life, who is loved by every fan, loved at the club, he's a respected coach. You don't never hear a bad word about Darren Fletcher from any of the ex-pros, from anybody who's been on a coaching course with him, anybody who's away at international duty with him. He's a football man, right? So what does that tell you? Okay, so Amorim had his problems. They probably bought in. He was probably the right man for the time, but it's not worked out. I'm now with the new man until he's not the new man, and that's the type of fan that I am. So we're looking at Fletcher's boys.
Starting up top, two up top.
I mean Fletcher's boys, as in Darren Fletcher's boys. If the Fletcher boys are playing, it means that Mount, everybody else is injured and all that stuff. So or they score bangers, in games. But it is what it is.
What would you say is, obviously looking back at Amorim's legacy, what is it that he's done wrong? What are like the biggest fails that he's done? And it doesn't have to be an Amorim bashing session, but sometimes you've got to give cold out like
if you are being a hypocrite, if you are being critical, you say he pressed the pragmatism button too late. You're saying that was a reverse of him. Well, actually, going back to what I said before, what was the suffering for? Why did we have to go through all that shit last season? And it was shit. I paid to watch that shit. I walked out of games because it was terrible to watch. There was arguments in the stands. It was, but that was, we knew what was happening. And then we had the highs of the Europa League, right? But we gave up on the Premier League too quickly because we were trying to implement something. We were trying to make it better for the future. But it should have been right, okay, you're in. We want you to work with. You've got these 4-3-3 players. I want you to play 4-3-3 for now, and then we're going to give you a whole new squad in the summer. Yeah, that's my big regret about the Amorim situation, because we have missed a good opportunity of having a really good young coach. be a presence. He was a winner at Sporting. We've got a really good record of turning winners into people who don't look very good.
So very well skirted around the word loser there, by the way.
He's not a loser because he's a winner. He's won more than I have.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah, no, he's won more than I was thinking of the
under 15's most improved.
the trophy that I led the Gladiators to last season.
Don't want to talk about that.
Don't want to talk about that. He'll have his own pod.
That DVD is worth a watch.
A 2-1 victory against a team that had beat us 16-2 in the earlier game in the season. So it was a master.
Forget.
It was a Mourinho masterclass. Do you know what I mean? Shithousery for 9-year-olds.
Fantastic. So yeah, we're obviously just moving this along a little bit. The biggest problem for Amorim, it seems, it was the system. That was something. Do you think that got? I think when Amorim came in, he was pretty much the poster boy of how to do a press conference. He was very slick. He said the right things. He always came out with the right quotes, and he was like a journalist dream. And I think as he went on, he was getting. Do you feel he was getting more kind of bogged down by questions of the system, questions about Mainoo? Do you feel like he was kind of cracking or faulting under any of that pressure?
I think if you look back on his history, he's probably had more press conferences than games. Like, that's a real problem. You only get to hear from Arne Slot once a week, and not to hark back to Liverpool and to flip the narrative round. But as Manchester United manager, there's a lot more media duties to be done. You hear from, he was on Sky a few times. He was brought on by Gary Neville a few times. He was interviewed, before games quite a lot. We heard a lot from the manager, and that can be fatiguing. And even the best talkers in the world can get caught out after, having to do 60 hours of press conferences within the first 3 months. Yeah. That's a lot. What do you think how do you think it went wrong for Amorim?
I feel like he came unstuck at a really horrible time. We had players out the F-corner, we had players missing, there was a transfer window coming up, and I felt like it was a perfect storm of arguments and petty squabbling behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it came down to. He's basically gone, I've got no players. The person with the money goes, well, you will have players, they're just out injured. I think he's like, but that we still need players. And then it was like, well, just make it work. And I think it all just became a little petty. And I think the problem is history is littered with managers who have gone against the board.
Yeah, man. Maresca.
Yeah, exactly. The last two managers have both been
Mourinho.
The Premier League.
Oh,
madness to think about it.
That is, who are the winners here? The bookies.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we'll be talking. I was asked about Eddie Howe before, and I think, this. I would never say I'd stop supporting Manchester United, but I'd cry inside a lot if Eddie Howe became Manchester United manager.
Yeah, I think
if that prick on the side, oh my days.
Well, we've had it kind of brings me to the next point. Looking forward, we're gonna have to look at it. We're gonna have to look at a new manager.
Pull your punches about Eddie Howe, Brad.
Yeah. Here we go, Lewis Dunk. We're signing him. But yeah, I think looking forward, what manager are we linked with? What manager would want to take this role?
So let's talk about two different scenarios: a manager a stopgap till the end of the season manager, and then a manager in the summer, or the ideal manager to come in now. Because I think what's the realistic thing to happen? I think a stopgap manager till the end of the season, and then someone coming in now, and then someone coming in at the end of the season, should I say. So do you want to give me your take on those two scenarios?
I honestly don't think stopgap works. I know we had good innings with Ollie for it, but I just feel like you just need someone to come in, steady the ship, get people all on side, and kind of just move forward. I feel like if things aren't going right in your stopgap manager, let's say like Ralph Ragnick, it's like players like, fuck it, I'm going to be here long after him, so we'll just see how the season, just cash your checks.
Bore off Poindexter.
Exactly, pretty much. Yeah, blame triangles. I feel like if you know he's there,
and that poor American guy with his earphones in at the sideline, like track and field coach, like it was. It was Chris Amras or whatever, Chris Amas or Amras or whatever.
But I just feel you get a temporary manager in, to the end of the season. Things don't go right. players' heads drop, especially modern players, go, fuck it, I'll see him out. I'll outlive him next season when we get a new manager.
Well, I've just come back from Jamaica, and so Steve McLaren.
right.
Now, boys.
Yeah,
hear me now.
Chill. Yeah, but yeah, I think there has been a few names touted around. Ex-player wise, I've had some messages saying get Roy Keane in and stuff. I couldn't see him as first team coach or manager, whatever label you want to give him, but assistant manager. I think he'd be a good presence.
I would love Roy Keane to be something at Manchester United. You know, he was the best captain of my lifetime. He, you know, because like growing up, I didn't see a lot of like Brian Robson was coming to his end, and then like Roy Keane was just the one, right? So I would love to see him at a club that he loves, doing what he loves, right? But is he the right man? You know, has he been given an opportunity at a big club? No. What does that look like? You know, I guess, right, hear me out.
Okay.
Put him in to the end of the season. Bring like the magical bunch of ex-players around him, right? And I tell you what, that puts to bed any media narrative in the future when, you know, because they'll know how fucking hard it is, you know, at the club.
Yeah.
How the pressure mounts from a managerial perspective, because it's a lot different to when it was. The pressure of Manchester United, you know, they may be respect. I know they love Sir Alex, but he controlled everything at that club. He controlled the media, you know. All this talk from Ratcliffe about, he was... I've seen Alex throw out, you know, people from the press conference. You won't get back in. You won't get back in, and all this, and like, and say things out against people. He had arguments, but you know, ultimately, do I say I want it? Maybe it's the best thing for the club to sort of, what's the word, give us a cleansing of this, because the ex-players around it can look negative from the outside, right? Whereas I don't see Paul Scholes criticising the tactics and think, oh, shut up, Scholesy. I think that's my favourite ever player. Same his opinion. You know, I can see the difference between it. But from the outside, it creates noise. So if you bring them in, maybe it does something. Maybe there's too many deep wounds. Maybe the egos in the dressing room aren't that good to manage. Who knows? Yeah. But like, we are up there. We're a Barcelona. We're a Real Madrid. You know, Real Madrid would never shy away from bringing in their club legends. Barcelona would never shy away from bringing in their club legends. So why don't Manchester United? And Darren Fletcher is a club legend. Is he on the pedestal as a Roy Keane? Is he on the pedestal of a Gary Neville? Is he on the pedestal of a Nicky Butt? You know, who knows?
I think if we're going down the ex-player route, I would really think a good combo would be Carrick and then Roy Keane as well as sister. I think
Rude didn't do a bad job.
Not particularly, but I just think very tarnished. He took a bad role afterwards.
He took a bad hit at Leicester, didn't he?
The problem was
he went with Team Vardy, didn't he?
And they went, we'll have a bit of that. Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, we don't have the players. But I feel like I think Carrick is Keane. If we go down the ex-players route, would be two. I'd probably look in. But
Carrick and Keane together.
Yeah. Carrick manager, Keane just.
Or you could have the Ollie with the Carrick and Keano pivot. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You could have the tough one and the
good cop, bad cop.
Good cop, bad cop.
But play it around so Roy Keane's the good cop. You did brilliant. Just to fucking mess with the minds. Yeah, mess with the minds a bit. I guess, you know, I wouldn't be averse to it, but if we're picking managers off a shopping list, I think I want a no-nonsense manager. I want a manager. I want somebody to come in and manage again. Yeah. I don't, you know, and work with the structure. Like, Tuchel, for me,
he's probably the best of what's out there. Maybe, you know, I was hearing things about Ancelotti, get Don Carlo in, but he's famously said that he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
You know, why would he want the stress of Manchester United? You know, the Real Madrid, they treat their managers a little bit better, don't they? You know,
just a touch.
And they make sure the press is good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Maybe that's something that we need to look at. But yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like whatever happens today's been a bit of a blemish on United's history then. I feel like whichever way you look at it, whether you're hammering in or hammering out, it's a bad day.
Let's go through the list. Steve Bruce?
No. Just no.
Just no. Sam Allardyce?
No, absolutely not. But this is the thing that's annoying me now.
Roy Hodgson, they're on the list, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're
really
500. You know, Paddy Power come out with a list. 500. Sam Allardyce is 500.
Oh, mate, I've had about 8 group chats today, just going Big Sam till the end of the season.
If it's Gareth Southgate, I
think that's the one that's everyone's worried about.
It sends shivers down my spine.
But that's the one that's if you get him in there, I think you just say you want a manager who rules with an iron fist, who's kind of his own man. Is Gareth Southgate that man? Absolutely not. He's a nearly man. And I do actually really like Gareth Southgate for what he did for England, because I think when you were sitting watching us play Iceland, and I know we threw away probably like 2 tournaments, but also I've seen us get knocked out by Romania, and I've also seen us get knocked out by Iceland. So he gave me my best moments as an England fan, I suppose. But he's just not the man for this job.
He failed to get the best out of Harry Kane at major tournaments.
But that's what I was saying. I wouldn't have him at United.
I know, yeah.
But I think he deserves more credit than he got for England. But
he got United, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he got plenty of credit from the FA and the monarchy.
But, the monarchy doesn't really mean
the
much.
The monarchy knows that you should bring on a fucking winger.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
don't sweat the hard choices. But yeah, I think that's it. I think the next manager has got a huge job on his hands.
Who do you go for?
This is it. It's like, can you get Glasner in? But he plays a similar system to us, and obviously we don't want that.
But Glasner has recently spoke out against the Crystal Palace hierarchy. Would Radcliffe look at that and think? And I mean, I keep saying Radcliffe. Maybe Radcliffe don't give a fuck. Yeah. Maybe it's Wilcox. Maybe it's Barada. Yeah. You know, and maybe it's the Trident. Maybe it's Christopher Valley. Maybe it's the whole leadership. You know, I've said lots of negativity about Radcliffe, but you know, ultimately it could be all of them that think bad. Could just be Dales Braille, just from the background, just poking in. We need a marginal gain. Set the manager.
Well, that's it. If Darren Fletcher's only for a couple of games, he's not to end the season, it looks like a new manager could be in for the City Arsenal games. So if you're going to get new manager bounce,
baptism of fire.
Yeah, that's the thing that you worry about. But if you're ever in need of a new manager bounce, it's them 2 games.
If you're ever in need of a new manager bounce, that's the one. You know, I think. So are you saying Carrick? Are you saying?
I wouldn't necessarily say Carrick's the man to go for. I say if we're going for X player,
okay,
I think that's a sense.
Would you take Glasner? So Glasner for you?
I would take Glasner because I think obviously he's played in the system a bit. I think he's a bit more flexible than Amorim was with his system, so maybe he's got a bit more leeway. But I still don't think he's the right man.
I don't think he's the right man. And that's the real sad thing. You know, would you take Maresca?
But this was a question I asked earlier, and I didn't rate him. I know he won. The problem is, do you look at his trophy or do you look what he did at the club? And yeah, he won 2 trophies, he won 2 pots, but at the same point, he had a squad of about 80 players, and I just feel
like Football Manager with cheats on it.
Exactly. You know? So what I don't know what the answer is. If I did, I'd probably have the job. But I think going forward, it's going to be a few dark days for United.
The dark days we thought were over.
Yeah.
You know, we were all optimistic, but you know, maybe we should have saw this coming. Maybe when we were speaking yesterday and we were looking at Amorim's quotes and we were thinking, right, it's gonna be chip paper that, and then you know, like let's focus on on the Burnley game. Let's look forward to the Burnley game, and then obviously it just blew up. And I feel like there's been 2 or 3 occasions that he's had previously where it could have blown up. Yeah. And it didn't. Yeah. You know, you had your Grimsby tactics board. Yeah. You know,
when he said he hated his sons. I remember from the press conference.
Oh yeah. So just going back to the manager, I think you know Glasner for me is not the answer. I think I like him. You know, I like him, but I just don't. I wouldn't go 100%. Would you go Pochettino? Like, I feel you need somebody who has been at the top table of the Premier League as well, and there's not, Mancini. Like, what's the? It's really dry, isn't it? It's so dry.
What would you do if United open conversations with Jurgen Klopp? Would it be worth it just to see the Scousers boiled piss?
No, because I think he's a smarter man than that. I think he's a smarter man than that, and I think he has to be respected for what he's done at Liverpool. And I've joked about the Mo Salah stuff and that, but I genuinely think he's got more class about him than that. Having said that, it'd be funny as fuck, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely hysterical if that happened.
But I just kind of want to just get home and get to bed, to be honest.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it there.
Yeah.
Peri is off the menu at Old Trafford now. So yeah, please.
You've been waiting to drop that line.
I only thought about that about 10 seconds ago.
Peri is off the menu. So we should. Are we going for German sausage in Glasner?
Pork pie, Sam Allardyce.
Are we going pork pie, Sam Allardyce?
Yeah.
Or is it a Newcastle Brown Ale in Eddie Howe?
A smorgasbord.
A smorgasbord. Or are we going for De Zerbi? At Marseille, who's not done too bad there. He's a shout. Like, I don't mind that lad at Brighton, but that's.
Yeah. we'll learn to hate them after a couple of months.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, we'll end it there. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Obviously, give us a like, follow, subscribe, comment. Really does help the algorithm, and please do subscribe. Thanks for watching.
And Dongfang Zhou is delayed while we get a new manager.